Has Donald Trump just pulled off the most brazen oil heist in history? What if I told you the real prize in Venezuela isn't just its oil, it's the political gamble behind it? The situation isn't as straightforward as it seems, and here's why Trump's high-risk bet on Venezuela's oil won't pay off. Stick with me, because we're about to break this down in a way you won't hear anywhere else. Venezuela's oil. It's not the easy prize most people think. Sure, on paper it holds some of the largest reserves in the world, but here's the catch. It's hard oil, dirty, heavy, expensive to extract, and tough to process. In fact, it's one of the most difficult oils to get out of the ground. And the returns? They're nowhere near as high as you'd expect from a resource this abundant. But what if I told you the real challenge isn't just the oil, it's the politics of getting it out? Because here's the twist. The risks above ground are just as deadly as the ones below. There's massive political and legal uncertainty. After 2 waves of expropriation and government intervention, big oil companies are terrified of what could happen next. But what does this all mean for Trump's plan? Can he actually make this work? Or is this all just smoke and mirrors? Trump's gamble is bold, but is it actually possible? Here's the thing, even if he pulls more oil out of Venezuela, we're still nowhere near the peak production levels of 3 million barrels a day that the country once had. Right now, Venezuela is barely managing 1 million barrels a day, and that's a stretch. And without a massive investment, we're talking $100 billion or more dollars, there's no chance of even getting close to where Venezuela was at its prime. This isn't just wishful thinking, it's backed by hard facts. But here's where things get interesting. Trump might be able to take control of this oil, but not without paying a steep price. And that price? It's political, legal, and a massive gamble that big oil companies aren't exactly eager to take on. Notice what's missing here, the actual long-term viability of this plan. Now let's talk about how the situation is escalating. This isn't just about oil anymore. It's about a long-standing pattern in Venezuelan politics. The country's oil industry has faced decades of instability dating back to Hugo Chávez's government. He didn't just nationalize oil, he tore up contracts and sent companies packing. That's why the oil giants are still nervous today. But look at what's happening now. The U.S. is trying to revive an industry that's been almost entirely shut out for years. And it's not just about oil, it's about power, leverage, and controlling a resource that's become increasingly irrelevant in the global market. As America becomes more energy independent, the stakes for Venezuela's oil are shrinking. This is the problem. The oil isn't the issue. It's what's being done with it. Trump's administration might think this is just a quick fix, but the reality, this could be a dangerous game with little reward. And if this trend continues, things are only going to get more complicated. Let's dive deeper into the evidence, because here's where things start to get really troubling. The numbers just don't add up. For one, Venezuela's oil isn't the light, sweet crude that's easy to refine. It's heavy and dirty, requiring specialized, costly refineries to process it. And yet, for all the effort, the returns are far from stellar. Now, think about this. The U.S. has the infrastructure to handle this kind of oil. The Gulf Coast refineries were built for this very type of crude. But that's the only benefit. Beyond that, there's very little reason to get excited about Venezuela's reserves. But here's the twist. Trump's plan hinges on getting private oil companies to step in and take on decades of investment. The problem? The companies that were already burned by Venezuela's government are hardly rushing back in. And let's not forget this, the massive contradiction. Venezuela's oil industry is a disaster zone right now, and yet Trump is trying to sell this as a windfall. But here's the thing, no major company is going to risk billions without a guaranteed payoff. This gamble, it's not just high risk, it's almost impossible to win. Now, the pressure's really starting to stack up. First, we have the history of expropriation hanging over everyone's head. 2 rounds of nationalization and forced takeovers left oil companies burned. Then there's the current volatility in oil prices. With some experts predicting prices could drop as low as $50 a barrel, no company is going to make a move unless there's certainty, something Venezuela isn't offering. On top of that, the political risks are through the roof. Trump's plan to bring private capital back into Venezuela would require companies to commit to 10, 20 years of uncertain operations. No one in their right mind would sign up for that in today's market. And the worst part? If this continues, the U.S. could find itself stuck in a losing game. The risks are massive, The payoff is uncertain, and if things keep escalating, it won't just be Venezuela that suffers, it'll be the companies involved and ultimately the U.S. taxpayer too. Let's step back for a second. What does this actually mean for the everyday person, for you? If you live in the U.S., Venezuela's oil gamble doesn't just affect the markets, it could have real consequences for your life. Think about it. This entire play hinges on attracting private companies to pump money into a collapsing sector. But that money, it won't be coming to you or your community. Instead, it's likely to benefit the big players, oil giants that already have their hands full with the new green energy push in the U.S. You're left with the potential fallout, higher costs, broken promises, and years of instability. If this doesn't work out, it could drag down the U.S. economy while making Venezuela's situation even worse. If this feels familiar, say so in the comments. We've seen this kind of political game before, and history doesn't always repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. Now let's go deeper. What's really driving this? The truth is, Venezuela's oil crisis isn't just about bad policies. It's about a system that incentivizes failure. The leverage that the U.S. government and big oil hold over Venezuela is undeniable. But here's the chilling part. These systems are designed to keep things unstable. The big oil companies aren't interested in fixing Venezuela's energy problems. They're interested in controlling them for short-term profits. And this is where the story gets even more unsettling. The idea that Trump's team can just roll in, throw money at the problem, and fix it is not just naive, it's dangerous. The reality? The system is set up for the rich to get richer, and the people of Venezuela will continue to suffer. Trump may think he's winning a political victory, but in truth, the system is designed to keep him playing the same losing hand. Now, what happens next? There are two possible paths forward, and neither of them looks good. One option is that the U.S. doubles down, pouring more money and resources into Venezuela, trying to make this gamble work. But here's the kicker. Venezuela's oil isn't going to magically turn profitable just because more cash is thrown at it. And as oil prices stay volatile, any hope for a quick recovery is fading fast. The other option, this entire plan falls apart, leaving the U.S. with a mess on its hands. With no real infrastructure, no political stability, and no guarantee of success, this could be the beginning of a long-term headache that the U.S. just doesn't need. Either way, the next move is already forming. But whether it's a win or loss depends on how quickly the political and financial realities catch up. So what's the bottom line here? The truth is, this whole Venezuela oil gamble might not be the strategic win everyone's hoping for. The game's rules have changed. With the U.S. now a net exporter of oil, this move starts to look more like a relic of a bygone era. Trump might think he's striking gold, but in reality, he could be chasing a distant mirage. In the end, this isn't just about Venezuela. It's about the future of energy and the last gasp of an industry that's slowly losing its grip on global power. Will it work? Maybe, but the odds are stacked against it. If you want to see how this story evolves, hit that subscribe button. We're diving deeper into the next big move in the energy game, and trust me, you won't want to miss it.